Hello, everyone. My name is Tal Schnell. I'm your customer service host today and mentor and coach. And we're going to be talking about a great topic, but I wanted to invite someone special to our training video as we always add value to you. And I thought about a great, extraordinaire hospitality professional, Steve DeGioia, to join us today on this topic. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much, Shannon. You're being way too nice to me. Thank you.
Well, it's all about the weather, right? So we won't go there. But Steve, tell us quickly about yourself so people can get a feel for what your passion is all about and what you do, what have you done. So talk to us about that.
Well, if you think about it, over the years, unless you're starting fresh out of school, not only do we have work experience, but we have life experience. And whether in the hospitality industry, which is where you and I have a major part of our work career, we're always in a customer service industry in some aspect. We're selling ourselves, we're selling the impression we want to give to someone else. So what I love to do is to use my experience in the hospitality industry and find ways to work with companies and work with their employees to improve their service, increase their morale, and ultimately find a way to make a fantastic experience for the customers that we deal with every single day because they're the ones that pay us. My boss doesn't pay me, the customers pay me. And if we can find a way of making them understand, come deal with me and I would take care of all your needs and make you feel warm and appreciated, then they will come back time and time again. So that's my passion in this industry. And what I try to do is working with others to try to share that same knowledge and passion with them as well. So thank you.
It's important. So it kind of transitioned us to a very interesting topic today. Which comes first, the employee or the customer? And you shared some pretty good insight there is that, I'm here to take care of the customer, but how will I take care of the customer? And one of the things that Steve and I thought about is to share with you, is how leaders create a people's first kind of a culture that takes care of the customer. And so, Steve, first question to you is, what do you think? Which comes first? Maybe it's not so obvious, but share with us your perspective about it.
Well, the easy question is the question that we are all taught within our training and what all the countless books come out is that the customer is king, the customer comes first, and the customer is always right. Well, that may or may not be the case, but what we have to deal with, in my opinion, is finding a way to provide your employees and have your company have the mindset so that way we don't have to be in a position where the customer is upset and we have to say, well, the customer is right. We have to make sure that he or she is taken care of. In a perfect world, we don't ever find ourselves in that position. Now, yes, there are some customers that may be a little more demanding and they may be wrong. And we have to, number one, take care of them. Let them believe that they are right in how we are dealing with them. But we should almost never get to that position in the first place. And we do that because we fail to operate in such a way that puts the customer first from day one. Tal, how many times are you in a meeting when we're discussing, how do we lower our payroll? How do we increase our sales? How do we get this new product to market? And we finish the meeting and everybody has all their notes and you may have a follow-up meeting, but we've never discussed in that meeting, how does this affect the customer in the long run? So then you put all these new plans in place and you realize, well, it's not the best experience for the customers that are coming in here. And now we're already in a situation where we're playing catch up, where we're going to have a guaranteed certain percentage of our people, our customers who are upset. And now we have to focus, well, the customer is always right. And we're going to lose money, lose a customer, and create all the negativity that comes from that point on. So I think it really stems from every, almost every, but every step that we take along the thing has to have one goal in mind. How does this affect your customer? And that will change our mindset and operational aspects so we don't get that problem. Well, is the customer right? It doesn't matter. We have to make sure he or she's taken care of. And I think we have to go back to the foundation at all times.
It's interesting because we both come from the hospitality field where it is heavy people industry, heavy people that is probably more than any other industry, and so people are at the heart of it. And I know that our industry has a lot of turnover, but at the same time, what do you do? What do you say to those managers? And I sometimes hear that all the time, is that they feel that, this person is going to be here for the next 6 months, or they're going to be here for maybe a year. Why should I invest that there's a quick turnaround here. And I think our many managers in our industry are thinking about, well, I mean, why should I mean, customers are going to come in. Their relationships are really important to me. What do you think about that when managers have that kind of a, I don't know what to call it, but what do you think about it? Maybe you've heard that yourself with some managers in the industry.
No, I definitely have, and it happens more so in the seasonal type of the business. What they tend to do, if you need 20 employees, they'll hire 40, understanding that half of them are going to weed themselves out. Well, you've already started with one foot in the hole from day one.
Right.
And any manager, and it's very easy to say this, of course, but any manager that's going to go into a situation already dismissing his or her staff and realizing that they will never be more than what they are today, or they will never be able to provide the service that we expect of them, or their customers primarily expect of them, you've already failed. And just because you're a seasonal employee or you're a part-time employee doesn't mean that every moment you're working for the company that you are supported, that you are nurtured, and you are trained to the best of everyone's ability. So that way you're not treated as a part-time. You're not treated as that there is no downfall of service just because you're working as opposed to the full-timer that's been there for 10 years. And it stems from every person has to have that same culture, the same mindset, with the same focus on what are we doing here? Are we just selling a product for the sake of selling it, or are we looking to build a foundation for our company with quality products and service and focus on the customer first? So managers that don't do that, well, maybe they need to go before the hourly employees need to go, frankly.
Right. Now that's very true. So what do you think about, and maybe you can share an example of an employee or several employees that felt, our company, in your previous experience, obviously in the hospitality field, or maybe you were part of that experience of saying, our company is definitely a people's first company. We definitely are building a people first culture. What does that look like? Here's my question here. What does that look like? What does the people first culture looks like? If there are signs, both from leadership, from employees, the line level employees, because when people talk about people's first culture, you always hear about the employee that's going above and beyond, right? So, but how, Steve, share with us some signs or examples of a people's first culture from your experience.
Well, I think it's similar to, one thing I touched on earlier is where where is the ultimate focus? We have to be employee first focused until we can be customer first or people focused. There's all the books, servant leadership. We have to understand you have to want to help others. I'm not sure about you, but I was a Boy Scout, and you have all your Scouts honor and Girl Scouts and various type of self-help groups and organizations. We have to be confident in who we are first, and what my abilities are and what my shortcomings are first, so that way I know where I can excel at and where I need to learn at the same time. So you have to start from that point. Well, a company has to do the same thing. You just can't put your shingle out or buy a new business and spend millions of dollars and open up your door and think that we will just flock to you as customers forever. It will happen initially, but people have to understand that everything that this company does, they have my best interest at heart. And it stems from when you have meetings within the company, what is the ultimate goal of that meeting? Just to save money, like I mentioned, or just to do that? Or is it to provide the overall experience? The same thing. You have a retail store on the corner. Well, are you constantly putting money back into that business so that way it looks presentable and it's clean, and it may have not not every year you're revamping it, but you're always doing something to make the people realize, hey, this is nice coming into there. that is showing that you're not just looking to focus on money first or saving money or generating money. You're trying to provide the best experience for the customers, and it comes from conversations, it comes from emails, it comes from uh, every leader within the organization constantly having pre-shift meetings and focusing on your customer, having in all your correspondence, once again, having that focus on the customers that you were dealing with. And when there is a negative aspect, drilling down to see what's the core problem. Is the problem that we cared more about this, or we cared more about the customer first? And so it's a big question. It's a big series of steps. But I think you can very easily see, does my boss care more about dollars and cents, or does he or she care more about taking care of your real dollars and cents, who is your customers?
Very, very true. And I think all of us kind of get caught in that, the short term wins rather than the long term wins. We all get caught in this, unfortunately, and we're not seeing the big picture. There are always ways to control certain things, such as cost or labor. All these kind of things are yes within your realm of responsibility. So we're not saying don't be someone who is taking care of the store, as they say, but you also want to remember that one of the things that I always remembered was there's always intangibles and tangible things to our business. So as a leader, you got to take care of both things at the same time, because what happens in our industry, what I'm saying here is if we neglect one aspect, if we neglect the intangibles and we neglect the tangibles, our business will not be successful. And so I think that, to Steve's point, challenge yourself as a leader to find a right balance between, there are times where we do have to cut back. There are times where we may not have necessarily the dollars and cents to support the team. Sometimes we have to cut back or we have to do certain things. But at the same time, remember the big picture. How is the customer? This is kind of what Steve is sharing perspectives. There are two sides to this. Yes, the employee is being affected, the customer is being affected, but at the same time, there's a way to motivate and keep that fire alive, even though you have to do certain things to adjust and keep your business. You don't want to create a situation where because you're not having a certain company and they're cutting back on business of travel, then now things are kind of skidding through. So that's really good perspective. Steve, I wanted to ask you, we're familiar with companies that have a people's first company. I'm part of Marriott, which is the founder of Marriott always said that if I take care of my employees, they will take care of the customers and the customers will come back, which is a philosophy that is solid for over 60 years in hospitality, the empire of hospitality, one of the largest companies. But, how do companies Steve, how do companies like Southwest Airlines, Marriott, Zappos, and Disney, who really successfully, and that's one of the things I've mentioned in my blog post, is that they're hard to duplicate. You can't do that in a week. You can't do that in a month. How do they do it? What do you think?
Well, I think it all stems from what is more important to them. When you're building a house, the house could be the most gorgeous, elaborate home in the world, but if it's sitting on top of a weak foundation, at some point you're going to crumble. Disney's tagline is, creating memories. Well, you cannot create a memory for any customer that walks in their doors unless there is multiple series of steps. Every little touch point that someone who goes to Disney or first deals with Disney online, booking the flights. Right now they have all the wristbands that come in the mail. When I went to Disney last time, it was the first time that I received all those the wristbands, and it was
Right.
really cool to me. And even how they come packaged in the box and how they're already coated with your name on it. You've already had a personalized service from that company, and you haven't even left your house to go onto the plane to go to Disney. Zappos, they will be more than happy to ship you all their product free of charge with easy returns, no question asked. They're always finding a way of doing something a little different. They're not reinventing the wheel, but they're finding a way to provide a service in a different way than the competition. Find a way of making it memorable so that way. I remember something about Disney. I remember, I went to Disney on my honeymoon 20 some odd years ago, and they have such a series of individual things that was done for my wife and I that have nothing to do with the fancy amusement parks and the food and the whole bit. So it's a memorable experience. They make it easy to shop with you, Southwest Airlines. And so it all stems from their foundation is the people that they will be dealing with, the customers that they are dealing with, provide an atmosphere of exceptionalism and make it easy for them to buy. Everything else comes from that point on. And once we work the other way around, we're trying just to build the business core and we're fitting our customers into our product. It's not the same as fitting your product to what the customers want. And that's why so many companies fail to get to the level of a Zappos, as a Costco, as a Southwest Airlines, because they almost have a 180-degree reversed view. They still may be very successful, but they never get to the point of those leaders.
Right, and that's the other company too. I was thinking about is Amazon does it well,
Mhm.
but the one of the things I've been thinking about that's really making them successful is they've established a strong vision, as you mentioned, and we're talking about having that vision, having values, having values that serve them and their companies for many years, and I think it's really starts from that foundation. If you lay out the foundation, hire the right people, create a vision that's inspiring and bold, and then having the character, a lot of it is resilience. So if you think about our industry, when economic downturns were hitting our industry, our leaders and our businesses needed a resilience, and that comes from the people to be resilient in tough times and challenging times, and still serving the customer. So the companies that do have the route foundation, as Steve mentioned, they are understanding that the most competitive advantage right now, it's not a product necessarily. And you may have a great product, you may have an Apple product, which is obviously one of the best, they have the great products. But you know what? They realize, especially with Steve Jobs, one of his vision was always like to create a Ritz-Carlton kind of experience to as an Apple experience. He was not satisfied. True story is that he was not satisfied in selling Apple products in retail environment before his stores came up. And the short version of the story is that he was tired of it. He was frustrated about it. He felt that people didn't know the product well. They were not really doing what they needed to do to get connected to the customer. So even it wasn't really about the product as much, but so it's amazing what happens when you have the right leadership and you have the right way to build this foundation, and if it's consistent, and that's the other word here, is that consistency is so important, because a company can have great employees for maybe a year or two, but what happens then?
Yeah.
So Steve, how do we, kind of a last question into this, is that you've established the people's first culture. As you and I know, we constantly need to reignite it. How does one reignite and continue to innovate and be creative about keeping that fire alive with the troops, with the people going to deliver that service?
Well, you have to, you have to, you have to show people what you mean by your actions. And, we've all hired, quote, warm bodies over the years. You have to fill a particular position and you hire someone that may or may not be the best candidate for that position. Now, he or she may turn into a wonderful employee, but you never know that. So you can have a fantastic organization that is people first, customer first, but at some point, unless they are constantly re-energized, unless their skill set is nourished, unless the mindset is always focused on what is our core values, and that's what you touched on before. What is the core values of our company? At some point, we're people. We have our ups and downs just like everybody else, just like business cycles are ups and downs. We have to constantly re-energize our workforce, and it comes by showing our employees This is what we mean to do. This is our standards. This, I don't mean physical standards. This is our mindset standards each and every day. And the employees know that, that person really means what they are saying. The boss really, when he or she tells us, focus on this, do this the right way, take care of your customer, make sure your service is fantastic. They really mean that because they are showing it every single day. And it's the companies that can do that and provide great team working events, networking events. You want to go and get hired by Zappos. Well, unless you're one of their IT developers and working on their website, they probably have a lot of more menial positions because they are shipping certain products. Very hard to get into a company like that because they are hiring for the mindset first and fitting into their culture, as
Right.
opposed to hiring for a body to do a specific job function. So they're already starting 2 or 3 steps above the competition that may do a similar type of a job. And that is the foundation. You start with great people that already have that same vision that you as a business owner does. You won't have to do much to keep that hope alive, to keep the mission going. But when you do have those slight little ups and downturns, get out there, let the line staff see that. Look at the boss. He or she is rolling up his sleeves. You don't have to lift a table or a box or a product. Get there, support them. Walk up to the employees and says, "How may I help you today? Is there anything else that you need from me? What questions do you have?" I need to know that my boss or the boss knows who I am. I don't expect you to always know everybody's name, but I need to know that you were here, you were supporting us by your actions, not just by your words. And I
Right.
think that will go so much farther than just an email coming down from up above. This is what I want from you. Provide that. You have to get the sales up by 14% next quarter. And those are the companies that will make that top list, the top five every single year because they can walk the walk, not just talk it each day.
Right. Very good. And thank you for sharing that because it is a topic of great debate that's out there as you've seen it. But I can tell you, as well as Steve can tell you, that it is about creating a people's first culture that will take care of the customer each and every time. If you start thinking about it and you ask the question, why is there such a turnover? So, for example, in other, it could be a retail, maybe it could be other things, is bad because leadership is thinking short term there and they're not thinking long term, where companies like Disney, Southwest, Zappos, and some of the other ones that are well known, Nordstrom, they were thinking long term strategy. Customer service was their competitive advantage. So think about that from a company perspective and leadership perspective. So Steve, thank you so much
Okay.
for joining me today, and I really appreciate your insights and perspectives that can help our audience to add value to their business.
You're very welcome.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another training video as we try to add value to your business and elevate your customer service going from good to great because that's what you want in order to be successful. So thank you so much for everyone. Have a great day.